is that my teachers believe that Jesus was on the cross for 3 days, then God took him to the sky, and I gave them the answer that has been, and they said that he is yet to come, and I gave them answer that it has been 100 years till he came, and now he's gone.
You see, let me repeat what I have so far understood from your question. The previous one was quite clear. You say that the Christians at your school have been telling you that Jesus Christ remained upon cross for 3 days, and then he was taken down and kept in a sepulchre. This is called sepulchre, you know, the place where he was kept. After that, I lost touch with your question. What were you saying after this?
And they believe that he is yet to come, and I gave them the answer that it has been 100 years till he came, and now he's gone.
100 years?
They are saying that he will come, and I have told them that he came.
Right. No. This is what was, you know, which was confusing for me. Suddenly you said it was 100 years while Jesus Christ passed around about 400 years ago. Huh? No, I'm sorry. What I meant to say is about 2,000 years ago. The Solar System 1,400 years or thereabout. Jesus Christ 2,000 years or thereabout, right? Mm-hmm.
And I gave.
Now you're talking of Masih Islam now, huh? 100 years ago, right?
So did I give the answer right or wrong? And if I did give the right answer, can
you
tell me?
First of all, tell me, how can you relate these two different things? The question began with Jesus Christ spending 3 days and nights upon the cross. Did it not? So how was it related to Hazrat Masih appearing 100 years before today? How could you relate these two things? It's amazing. First of all, you should deal with the question of Jesus, what happened to Jesus, separately. You should tell them that according to the information we have received from the study of Bible and other historical evidence, Jesus did not remain upon the cross for 3 days and nights. It's absolutely wrong. Jesus remained there only for a few hours. Because of one thing, all the historians are agreed that Jesus was put upon cross after the sun of his Friday had started declining, after midday, right? And he was taken down from the cross before the sun of that Friday set. And because it happened to be in, was it in spring somewhere, late spring, between the winter and summer, when the days are shortened. So we calculate by the days in around Palestine in that period. Now even today, they remain the same. The history has not changed the size of the days. So judging from the size of the days during this season, we can safely assume that Jesus did not remain upon the cross for more than a few hours. Because if he was put upon cross after 12 o'clock and he was taken down from the cross before the sun set, so the sun at that period sets around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. So the maximum time available was 5 hours. And because he had to be taken before the sunset, and he was not immediately put to cross at 12 sharp. So the maximum time you can give him on the cross would be 4.5 hours, no more. So this is the correct, the incident which took place, or the episode which is correct, is this one. Now 3 days and nights would be all the period of his suffering and trial till he walked out of the sepulchre. So don't believe what they say, if anybody says that he remained upon cross for 3 days. No, not so. He was taken down, his body was removed by his disciples to a cave-like place in which people could sit. More than one persons could be accommodated. So the graves in those days were not the sort of graves which we know them now. They were like caves, openings here and there. And a body would be laid there, and some people could sit with that body. And that is exactly what happened in case of Jesus Christ. And then a stone was put on the mouth to prevent people from walking in, or stray animals to walk in. So when Jesus' body was removed to that sepulchre, what we read in the Bible is that there was a great activity going on among the disciples, and they were preparing an ointment made of 12 ingredients, and that ointment is still known as Marham Isa, the ointment of Jesus. It is recorded in all the classical literature on healing that there was such an ointment, and its prescription is still available. So that ointment was prepared chiefly by one of his disciples, who was a master in the art of healing in those days, but also other disciples participated. So because 12 people participated in it, so there was one ingredient attributed to each one of them. So as such, we have a Marham Isa which has 12 ingredients. In this, there was myrrh and some other elements which were known for their healing properties, and also there were some painkillers among the medicines. Now this is what we present as a definite proof that Jesus Christ, according to the first witnesses, had not died. You understand?
Yes.
Because had he died, there would be absolutely no reason why an ointment with painkillers and anti-hemorrhagic processes, etc., would be applied to his body. So with the help of God, that ointment proved so strong in its healing properties that before the third day was out, he was himself out and about, walking with the help of his disciples away from the cave where he was buried. And but I don't want to tell you all the details of this very important event. It is essential for all Ahmadi children to understand these basics. Otherwise, they will not be able to discuss the question with their fellow students properly. Anybody who says anything against it is wrong. This is the correct historical reconstruction of the event, right? The second thing is about his re-advent. Now, because they believe he died first and was resurrected afterwards, they believe that he ascended to heaven. While there is no official verdict from the New Testament of his ascent to heaven, the only evidence quoted by the Christians is from Mark. But the 12 verses in which this is mentioned have been proved to be false by the Christian scholars themselves. So there is no evidence of Jesus having ascended to heaven. The only evidence which is trustworthy and which is supported by all the narrators is that he walked out of the cave still injured, but having recouped enough to be able to walk with the help of somebody, to prop on somebody's shoulders, and so he was helped slowly and gradually walk painfully out of the cave. Then the evidence we have is simply this, that he reappears before his disciples who had considered him lost and dead, to reassure all of them that he had not died. And in no such encounter, and remember this, I repeat, in no such encounter, he ever told them that yes, he had died but was resurrected. There is not the slightest evidence of this claim in the New Testament. What we gather from there is that when he was seen alive, the first reaction of the disciples was that he was a ghost, because they had considered him already dead. So naturally, if somebody in the figure of someone you know who has died confronts you suddenly, you would naturally draw the conclusion that that person is a ghost. That is exactly what happened in case of Jesus Christ. It is reported in the New Testament that once when he appeared before some of his disciples, they were shocked. They were utterly scared. They thought he was a ghost. But Jesus, addressing them, did not tell them that he had died and now he has been resurrected. Instead of that, he said he is not a ghost. He is the same person who was crucified. Nowhere does he mention his own death. Come, he said, come and touch me. Here, there, the same wounds. The same wound here. And he beckoned them towards himself to testify for themselves. To see, first of all, to see and touch the wounds so that they could testify to others that Jesus was still alive and alive in the same body. Jesus had never died. This is the only testimony worthy of acceptance which we gather from the New Testament. The rest are their conjectures. It is merely a conjecture on the part of the Christians that Jesus died because others believed he must have died and others believe he must have come to life again. But Jesus is nowhere told to have claimed that he had died and he has come to life again. This is a very important argument which you should remember. They can quote some scriptures by telling you, they said, that disciple or that apostle said he had died and had come to life again. But he was a third person. It was a hearsay evidence. The best evidence, the most reliable evidence was only the evidence of Jesus Christ. Why did he not tell anyone on earth, after reappearing from the cave, which sepulchre, that look here, a miracle has happened. I died once and I am alive again. Exactly on the contrary. What Jesus himself claimed was not what the Christians of today believe. It was exactly the opposite. First I have told you what he did not claim, right? He did never claim that he had died once, even for a second. The second thing, what he claimed, it is in the form of a prophecy. When people demanded from him a miracle. In the New Testament, we find Jesus answering them that no miracle other than the miracle of Jonah would be given to these wicked people of this age. Now, the very miracle of Jonah, the Hazrat Yunus, is well known all over the world. Among the Muslims, Christians, Jews, there are no two opinions as to what that miracle was. These are the three major religions of the world which believe in Jonah to be a true prophet of God. They are the three major religions of the world which relate the story of Jonah fundamentally in the same terms, without any difference. They say that he was eaten up or swallowed by the fish. Which fish? It is said that it was a whale or some fish, but it had to be a giant fish which swallowed Hazrat Jonah and vomited him out before he died. And in the Old Testament or in the New Testament, it is said, and they all believe, that he remained within the belly of the fish for 3 days. Right? So the critical period of Jonah's life, according to their belief, was 3 days where it was more likely for him to die than to live. Survival was almost impossible. Death was almost certain. But almost, not entirely. So what the miracle of Jonah was, that despite against all odds, he did survive, remaining within the belly of the fish. And the fish ultimately vomited him out on a land where some gourd plants were naturally growing. You know, the gourd is a plant which also bears Karela, which is very strongly antiseptic. And gourd is a family of creepers which also has melons and similar vegetables which we use in our daily life. So Allah had him thrown in the open on a field where naturally some gourd plants were growing. So they gave him the cover first of all from the sun, and as I believe it had also some creepers of Karela gourd, and this has a very strong medicinal property. So that could have helped him recover from the damage and all that was done to harm done to her body during the 3 days in the belly of the fish. But one thing is certain, he never died, and he was revived from, not revived, I'm sorry, he survived the trial. He did not revive from the dead, he survived from the danger of dying. On this there are no two opinions. All the Muslims, all the Christians, all the Jews are agreed upon this, that Jonah never died, even for an instant. So it was not a case of revival. It was a simple case of survival. He should have died, but did not. So what did Jesus say about himself? What did Jesus say that would happen to him? He said he would give them the miracle, the repeat of the miracle of Jonah. So was he right or wrong?
Right.
Or you can ask your Christian friends, was it true? Was he right? The answer would be yes, he was right. Say, if he was right, then you are wrong. Because he informs you that he was about to go through a trial in which, in every likelihood, he should have lost his life. But he would not. And only then he would be repeating the miracle of Jonah, who was about to lose his life through that trial of being swallowed by a fish, but did not lose his life. So Jesus did not die upon cross. He was never revived from the dead, and as such he never ascended to the heaven. He spent an ordinary life of a prophet. He belonged to the category of prophets of Allah. And as such, he did what other prophets, particularly Jonah, had done. Having been saved from death, he migrated from that area. He never returned to his own original place, but went on and spread his faith in other parts of the same general, not subcontinent, but that country or a group of countries. I hesitate to name the place because the geographies have changed. This event seems to have taken place in what is known to be generally as Arabia. So in the Arabian Peninsula, these things happened. And he did not return to his place of birth, which is known to be Nineveh. But he moved on to other parts and spread his message and died as a successful prophet of Allah ultimately. So this is what we read from the Jesus' prophecy. This is what you should remember. And then you will be fortified against any attack on Ahmadiyya concept of what happened to Jesus. Right? About his re-advent, the argument should be this, not the way you have built it, but you should remember this argument and this would work. If Jesus is proved not to have died upon the cross, if he is proved to have survived the ordeal of being hung upon cross, and then if he is proved from the Bible that he started moving away from the city of his crucifixion, the township where he was crucified, in the easterly directions. The only question which is relevant now is where he was going. Right? If you prove that from Jesus' own predictions, then the whole problem is solved. Then there is no riddle left. So I would like you to remember all these young Lajna, to remember these fundamentals about your dialogue with Christianity. So far what I have said, if you hear it again and again, then you will memorize all these important things. Also you should memorize the references which I have generally given. But now I am coming to the last point. According to our understanding of Jesus' own words, remember he did not die upon cross. Remember he never died, even afterwards, for a single moment. Otherwise his prophecy about Jonah and his similarity would be wrong, while it was not wrong. Then I have proved that he appeared before his disciples and told them clearly that he was not a ghost, he had never died. He was the same person. Then he is known to move away from that place to somewhere. Where to? Let's ask Jesus himself. And his verdict should be acceptable, both to Muslims and Christians alike. Again, it is in the form of a prophecy. He prophesied about himself that he would leave the people there and go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, it was a definite prophecy. which fixes the course of history, which unfolded itself after crucifixion. Where did he go is the question. He must have gone to pursue the path of the sheep of the house of Israel. Wherever they went, he must go, or he will be proved to be false. He makes a claim and does not fulfill with the following consequent action. Then he is a false man. So according to us, he was not a false man. He was one of the true prophets of Allah. And as such, let's find out where the sheep of the house of Israel had gone. Let's ask this question from the Christian historians themselves. And they would tell you that they had migrated long before Jesus Christ in the easterly direction, and they ended up in India, in Afghanistan, in Kashmir, and also spread out in many other eastern countries. So wherever the main movement of the tribes can be traced, Jesus must follow them and must go there, if he was right. And he was right. But if you believe in what the Christians believe, then again Jesus is proved to be false. How could a person be considered to be son of God in any way if he is shown to be false according to his own evidence? In the first case, as I told you, he claimed to be similar to Jonah. So if our understanding of what happened to Jonah and their understanding agrees with what happened to Jesus, then he is right. Otherwise he is wrong. We believe him to be right, so we believe he never died, like Jonah never died. You understand the point?
Yes.
Now I come to the second thing. Where did he go? According to the Christians, he ascended to the heaven. Right or wrong? This is what they believe, don't they?
Yeah.
He ascended to the heaven and will return from that abode, heavenly abode, in the latter days to restart his mission of Christianity. Now we say, if what you say is right, then Jesus was wrong. Because Jesus had made a positive commitment, an unchangeable commitment, that he would go to where the lost sheep of the house of Israel had gone. Now, had they gone to the heaven, why should he have ascended to the heaven? Was there any lost sheep of Israel to be found there? So obviously, the only logical conclusion you can draw from this is that Jesus must have pursued the course of the earlier tribes of Israel who had left the mainland Judea or were compelled to leave the mainland of Judea by the invasion of Nebuchadnezzar. They were imprisoned in large numbers, removed from their country, and after a while, staying there, then they started moving out in other easterly directions. So Jesus, if he was right, he must pursue the same course as the Israelites had pursued earlier, or he was wrong. So if Jesus is to be believed as a righteous, true man, he should only be seen from the Ahmadi angle, because there you will find him a flawless person, always fulfilling the promises he made. If you accept him as they see from the Christian angle of today, then in these two major promises of Jesus Christ, he is found to be absolutely false. Now, if you understand this logic, if you master this way of argumentation, and if you also remember the necessary references, then with the grace of Allah, whether it's a school debate or a college or university, you can never be defeated by unprejudiced Christians. You can't be defeated by even prejudiced Christians, but they won't admit their defeat. That's the problem. So they go on making noise that we have rendered you answerless and this and that. So always choose the right-minded people, honest, true, simple, ordinary human beings who are not prejudiced. And on them these arguments would work, inshallah. Got it?
Yes.
Have I answered the question you had in mind as well, or not yet?
Yes, you've answered it.
Huh? Yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
azim